TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations.
Shalom, Erev Tov, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. Israel reiterates that it will not accept any role for Hamas in the future governance of the Gaza Strip amid efforts by the Hamas terror group to rehabilitate itself. Tensions are evidently escalating in Lebanon as Hezbollah continues to defy the terms of the November 27th ceasefire with Israel. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei rejects any form of relations between the Islamic Republic and the United States of America. The remains of the deceased hostage, Staff Sergeant Itai Chen, were returned to Israel last night, and after the identification process was completed by the National Institute of Forensic Medicine, his family was notified. Sergeant Chen was killed in combat in Nachal Oz on October 7 of 2023, and his body was taken into Gaza by the Islamist Hamas terrorist organization. His death was announced 5 months later. Itai Chen is the last kidnapped IDF soldier from this war. Another 7 deceased hostages still remain in the Gaza Strip after 761 days, 6 of them civilians.
The Hamas terrorist organization is required immediately and without preconditions to uphold its commitment to the mediators. Israel demands that they return all of our hostages as part of the implementation of the agreement. Hamas knows where they are. We will not compromise on this. We will spare no effort until we return all of our hostages, every last one of them.
It is worth noting that while Hamas adheres to U.S. President Donald Trump's 21-point plan, international bodies associated with the United Nations in particular, to include the World Food Program, are complaining that they are not managing to provide enough humanitarian aid into the Hamas-controlled parts of the Palestinian enclave.
We need to get to the 1.6 million people with full rations. We need full access. We need everything to be moving fast. We are in a race against time. The winter months are coming. People are still suffering from hunger, and the needs are overwhelming. So in terms of, where we are today, it's few steps forward, but it's not as far as we would like it to be. And this is why we would like to have the access to the urgency of opening the northern border crossing points, because that will get us fast to the north of Gaza, where we know that the food needs are high and the food security situation is acute.
It is interesting to note the evident frustration by the World Food Program, or WFP, regarding food prices of humanitarian commodities that are being sold to the Gazan population, since WFP believed the prices of food and other essential commodities would substantially decrease once the ceasefire takes effect.
I think the majority of households that we've spoken to are only consuming cereals, pulses, dry food rations, which people cannot survive on for a long time. Meat, eggs, vegetables, fruits are being consumed extremely rarely. There are, relative improvement or drop in the prices of most food items with the ceasefire announcement compared to September and the first week of October, but more price decreases were expected. However, it still remains higher than February of 2025 and the pre-conflict levels.
Instead of criticizing the Islamist Hamas, the World Food Program has taken the easy route by criticizing the State of Israel, to which Jerusalem responded in defiance.
We have adhered to both the spirit and the letter of the agreement. Hundreds of trucks of aid are going in. Israel will not accept the criticism that we are not adhering to the agreement. Hundreds upon hundreds of trucks are going in. The issue, as ever, as CENTCOM itself The American Armed Forces released over the weekend that Hamas are looting the aid trucks, they are stealing the aid, they are up to their usual dirty tricks, feeding their own people, stealing the food from their own people, and selling it back to them at exorbitant prices.
The PMO spokesperson referred to the video, which U.S. Central Command published over the weekend, and which U.S. Secretary of State and National Security Advisor Marco Rubio reposted with a statement in which he warned that Hamas's theft of humanitarian aid undermines international efforts in support of President Trump's plan to deliver critical assistance to innocent civilians. It is important to point out that Hamas's actions throughout the Gaza Strip, coupled with repeated statements of refusal to disarm, clearly indicate that the Islamist terror organization is preparing to maintain its power in the Palestinian enclave, irrespective of Trump's 21-point plan and Israel's pledge to enforce the demilitarization in one way or another. Israel's position also remains unwavering vis-à-vis the future governance of Gaza.
When it comes to the future of Gaza, the agreement makes clear that the future of Gaza, the governance will shift from to a transitional technocratic Palestinian committee, apolitical, which means that will be no Hamas, no Palestinian Authority under international oversight, and of course this International Board of Peace, including President Trump and others, will oversee the process and Gaza's reconstruction.
Turning to Israel's northern front, where the IDF continues to target the Iranian proxy Hezbollah daily over the terror group's repeated violations of the U.S. and French-mediated ceasefire, which took effect on November 27, 2024. The repeated strikes against Hezbollah's efforts to rehabilitate its military infrastructure have consequently resulted in many casualties, which are increasingly frustrating the Iranian proxy.
This dangerous Israeli escalation is related to attempts to force direct negotiations on Lebanon in order to reach what the Israelis want in terms of security agreements between Lebanon and Israel. We repeat that Lebanon has done what it must in terms of adhering to the ceasefire and all its provisions. Israel has not adhered to it at all, and this commitment is not even on its radar. It is going further in its aggression and is pushing Lebanon to the brink of many dangers.
Turning to the Islamic Republic of Iran, where the supreme leader of the Ayatollah regime, Ali Khamenei, told his followers that Tehran cannot reach an accommodation with Washington because of the simple fact that the United States of America is essentially incompatible with the Islamic Republic of Iran.
Some people distort history. They claim that the dispute between the Islamic Republic and America stems from this very slogan, "Death to America." This is foolish. Anyone who thinks that a nation is hostile to America merely because it chants the slogan "Death to America" is mistaken. No, the slogan itself is not such a decisive matter that the Americans would oppose, confront, or antagonize Iran because of it. The issue is one of fundamental and inherent conflict, an essential incompatibility. It is a clash of interests between two opposing fronts, the front of America and the front of the Islamic Republic.
Somewhat ironically, since the Islamic Republic of Iran regards Israel as an extension of the United States in the Middle East, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei nonetheless noted that if the United States abandons the greater Middle East, uproots all of its military bases, and abandons also its allies and partners, to include Israel in particular, only then will the Ayatollah regime in Tehran consider a constructive relationship with the United States of America.
Cooperating with Iran is incompatible with cooperating with and aiding the accursed Zionist regime. Given that, in recent times, the whole world has seen, understood, and condemned that regime, the United States assists it, America supports and backs it. Under these conditions, cooperation with Iran has no meaning and is unacceptable. Yes, if they were to completely abandon their support for the Zionist regime, withdraw their military bases from here, and refrain from interfering in the region, then it would be possible to examine the issue. But that is not for now, nor for the near future.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to thank you if you're a supporter of TV7 Israel, since your donation is essentially helping us produce our daily news updates from here in Jerusalem. If you haven't yet supported TV7 Israel, which is exclusively donation-based, please consider doing so. You can donate via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. Separately, as ever, pray for our brothers and sisters facing persecution globally, along with prayers for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. I'm Jonathan Essen, wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, until our next update, Shalom from Jerusalem.